Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. On the line with us is David Swanson, the journalist, activist, campaign director over at rootsaction.org, the author of what I think is one of the most thought-provoking, provocative, and important books that I've read in the last 20 years, War is a Lie. It's really an extraordinary piece of work. David, welcome back to the program.
Hi, Thom, and thanks for liking War is a Lie so much.
Oh, it's just, well, as you know, I've been singing the praises of this book for what? It's been 8-10 years since you wrote it, something like that. It's still remarkable. We have a link to your petition over at Roots Action on our Facebook page. You started a petition having to do with guns that specifically references my book. So I guess you could say that this is kind of self-serving. I wasn't thinking of it that way until just now, realizing how this might sound. But you know, I wrote this book, The Hidden History of Guns and the Second Amendment, because I'm horrified by the fact that 40,000 people died of gun violence last year, and thought that, you know, we needed to talk about not only the situation and how we got here, but also what we can do. And you put forward a very specific petition. Tell us about that.
Well, I enjoyed your book, as you know, and thought that your proposals were both substantive and significant and would have a big impact, but also so incredibly reasonable and rational and moderate that nobody could possibly object. You know, whereas my inclination since the moment I ever heard about people being killed with guns was ban all the damn things. You know, your proposals, which we put into this petition to the governor of Virginia, who had called a special session of the General Assembly in the wake of yet another mass shooting that happened to be in Virginia, we put in there basically your ideas to treat guns like cars. That is, have a title and registration, have a license that requires passing tests, have liability insurance required, and on top of that, treat semi-automatic weapons the same as automatic weapons in terms of bans and regulations. And we got over 5,000 people to sign it. People are still signing it. We still want more people to sign it at diy.rootsaction.org. And we sent it to the governor of Virginia, who had drafted his own proposals, which I don't know what you think of them. I thought they were pretty weak, although I liked one of them in particular. I mean,
what was the one you liked?
Well, the one I especially like was the one that says localities can do better than this crap job that we're doing at the state level. Right. I like that. You know, I live here in Charlottesville, where they, you know, refused to ban guns at a fascist rally 2 summers ago, right. and then on the 1-year anniversary last summer, they got their act together and they banned every weapon under the sun except guns. You know, it was just absurd. You know, you couldn't bring a slingshot or a plastic fork or a camera, but you could bring a gun. You know, an automatic. And so I like that. I like that idea. And the others were sort of the better than nothing stuff that you get from the Democrats, right? So you can only buy one handgun every 30 days. The things aren't going to be, you know, there's no title, registration, license, but if your gun is stolen, you have to report that. Or if your gun is lost, you have to report that. And right. It's stuff like that, which, you know, is better than nothing. But and of course, the Republicans responded immediately on the opening of this big special session to deal with this crisis by shutting it down within 2 hours, ending it, and declaring that they would do nothing.
Yeah, worse than nothing, actually. So you said DIY, as in do it yourself, diy.rootsaction.org?
Yeah, this was a petition I put up sort of as an individual, although I work for rootsaction.org on our do-it-yourself site, which people use all the time. It's diy.rootsaction.org. You make a petition and promote it, and hopefully we'll help you promote it.
Right. That's great. That's great. And as I said, there's a link from our Facebook page as well over at Facebook, whatever it is. You know, so what, you know, are you getting feedback about these ideas? I've noticed that, you know, at least one member of Congress has now called for, you know, licensing of all gun owners. Another member of Congress, I'm sorry, I don't have the names right on the tip of my tongue. I've just caught these stories kind of on the fly over the last few weeks while I was on book tour. Another one has called for insurance for gun owners. I'm not sure that they're reading my book. You know, I've been talking about this stuff on the radio for at least a half a decade, maybe a decade. Just that simple idea of regulating guns like cars, as a way of allowing for rational gun ownership. I mean, I talk in the book about, one of my brothers is a gun enthusiast, and I like to go target shooting with him, and he's a vegetarian. I mean, so it's not like hunting and stuff, but we've got to find some kind of a middle ground where, I had a conservative call into my show a couple days ago. He came to my book signing in Chicago, I think it was, and, I gave a talk on this, and he was like, hey, I'm a conservative, I own guns, and I think your proposals are entirely reasonable. So what kind of feedback are you getting?
Well, that's what I would expect, and you probably noticed as well that Senator Cory Booker, who by the way I wouldn't elect a dog catcher, proposed something quite similar in a presidential debate. So there are some people picking up on these ideas or coming at them from somewhere, but in response to our petition, there are a handful of comments on the webpage underneath, all supportive. We get a number of emails that are supportive, but mostly we get people signing the petition. And 5,000 is a very good start, and I'm sure another 5,000 will sign it. The question is, can we get the governor of Virginia, or can we get anyone else in power around the United States or in Washington to actually act? Because we've got the Republicans openly and shamelessly owned by the gun lobby, and the Democrats unwilling to do anything particularly significant, even when they're treating it as a major, urgent, personal.
Well, in the case of Virginia, you've got Republican control of the lower chamber, so the Democrats can't pass legislation. In the U.S. Congress, it's the same thing with the Senate. So even if they were inclined, but. Up to this point, it's been. I think, frankly, the Democratic Party has been intimidated by the NRA for a couple of decades now, and and the Republican Party, of course, is embraced by the NRA. But I also get the sense that is going away. That the tobacco industry, living, being the political animal that you are, I'm sure you're familiar with this. That in the late '90s, the most powerful lobby in the United States was the tobacco lobby. Nobody crossed the tobacco lobby. Mike Pence was writing op-eds about how tobacco doesn't cause cancer and publishing them in newspapers. They owned everybody, and Democrats, Republicans, right across the board. Nobody was willing to do anything. And then in the '90s, these lawsuits came out and showed that not only did this industry kill 500,000, or I think it was 450,000 Americans a year in the late '90s, but they knew that they were doing it, and they had known that they were doing it since the '40s. They had known that nicotine was addictive since the '30s, and they had just been hiding this, covering it up. Now we're seeing, between lawsuits and good publicity from the Parkland kids to Gabby Gifford's group, we're realizing that the NRA and the weapons, the death industry, the weapons manufacturing industry, are just as corrupt as the tobacco industry was, and arguably even more corrupt. I mean, this is explicitly killing people. You don't even have the pleasure of getting high from a gun like you can from a cigarette. So it seems to me like within 5 years we're going to be looking back at the NRA the same way that by 2002 or 2003 we were looking back at the tobacco lobby and saying, now they're just noise in the background. What do you think?
Well, I very much hope so. I don't dare make the prediction, and I don't dare suggest that nobody gets high from their guns. Some of these people certainly seem to.
Yeah, that's true.
But there is a difference that the killing is not secret. It's not as if we can have the revelation that they knew guns were killing people. Everyone has always known the guns are killing people, and yet it's justified and accepted somehow. I hope that the trend you're seeing is correct, and that it goes after not just the guns domestically, but the weapons that are sold to militaries and dictatorships and democracies and the Pentagon